In our special for Yom Ha'Atzmaut, start with the Rambam and Sefer Mitzvos. Ilo Ifshar derech mashal. The Rambam writes in Mitzvos Aseh Kufnin Gimel, if it were possible, theoretically, Shebnei Eretz Israel Ya'adru Me'eretz Israel, that all of the Jews in Eretz Israel would be removed from Eretz Israel. It would be Chalilah la kel masot, forbidden by God to do such a thing. Ki hu ibtiach shelo yimche osos haouma mikol v'kol, because Hashem guaranteed us that the nation of Israel would not be entirely wiped out. That's the Rambam. The Rambam is saying, well, let's look at the Sopher. Nira medbariv. It appears from the words of the Rambam. The Sopher says, Ki ilu chas ושלום lo yeshar shum Yisrael be'eretz Yisrael. That if, God forbid, there would be no Jews living in Eretz Israel, afilu yosvim Yisrael b'chutz laretz, even though Jews would be living in chutz laretz, micri kilion omma, this would be called the extinction of the nation, chas v'shalom, God forbid. So, the definition of Klal Yisrael, according to the Sopher's understanding of the Rambam, is that Jews are living in Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is called Klal Yisrael. Jews outside of Eretz Yisrael are individuals. They're never considered a tzibur, they're never considered Klal Yisrael. This halacha also is discussed in terms of Tfilas Geshem, the prayer for rain and the prayer for dew. If an entire country needs rain because of a drought or something like that, and so it would be bad for not to have rain after Pesach, the Rosh argued that therefore we should wait and saying Tfilas Tal until Shavuos. And all the other Rishonim disagreed, and they said no, because there's no such thing as a tzibur chutz laretz. There's only a tzibur in Eretz Yisrael. The Ramban. Now, the Monei HaMitzvos before the Rambam had no problem with having many, many more than 613 mitzvos. The drasha of Rabbi Simlai at the end of Makos, that there are 613 mitzvos, the Rambam accepted, even though normally he didn't seem to accept midrashic things like this. This he took very seriously, and there are exactly 613 mitzvos, and so too did the other Rishonim after the Rambam, and certainly all the Achronim, have accepted that there are 613 mitzvahs. The Ramban sometimes disagrees and says this or that mitzvah is not in fact a mitzvah. Something else is a mitzvah. So when the Ramban takes out certain mitzvahs, he has to add certain mitzvahs. So the fourth positive mitzvah added by the Ramban, mitzvah revis, shnitztavu l'reshes haaretz. The fourth mitzvah is that we were commanded to inherit the land. Asher nesan hakel yisbarach v'yisalei labosenu, lavram liyitzak u'lakov. That God, you should be blessed and exalted, gave to our forefathers Avram and Yitzhak and Yaakov. Lo nezva biyad zulasenu mina umos or lishmama. We are not allowed to leave it in the hands of the non-Jews or to leave it desolate. V'hu lahem, he said to them, "V'horashtem es haaretz v'yeshavtem ba." You will inherit the land and you will live in it. Ki lechem nesati es haaretz l'reshes osah, because I have given to you the land to inherit it. V'yisnachaltem es haaretz, and you will inherit the land. You will dwell, cling to the land. V'kenamru gemar sota, and so too we say at the end of the Gemara in Sota. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Milchemes Yoshua Lichvosh Harei Divrei Kol Chova. That Rabbi Yehuda says the wars that Yahushua fought to conquer Eretz Yisrael, and so to any other war to conquer Eretz Yisrael, is an obligatory war. Milchemes Mitzvahs, that most people would refer to it. Milchemes David Le'ervacha, when David HaMelech fought wars to expound the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, Divrei Kol Rishus. This is a discretionary war. Va'al tishtabesh v'tomar, and do not be confused and say, Ki mitzvah azos hi mitzvah bilchemes b'shiva ha'amim. Say this is only a mitzvah to make war against the seven nations. Shenitztavu la'abdam, that we were commanded to destroy them. Shenamar, as it says in Parshat Shoftim, hachrem tachrimem, you will surely destroy them. Ein hadavar ken, this is not true. Sha'anu nitztavu laharog ha'uma os hahem v'hilachamem imanu. We were just commanded to destroy those nations when they made war with us. V'imratzu lahashlim nashlim imahem. If they wanted to make peace with us, we would make peace with them. V'na'azveim, and we would leave them alone. But t'naim yiduim, and there were specific conditions for this. Aval haaretz lo naniach osa biyadam, but we would not leave the land in their hands. V'lo biyad zulasam min hu'umos b'dor min hadoros, and not with any other nation, of any of the nations, in any of the generations. Shenitzavchu b'kivusha v'yishuta, because we were commanded to conquer it and to settle it. Hari nitzavchu b'kivush b'chol hadoros. We have been commanded to conquer it in all generations. Sometimes it's impossible. I mean, we didn't have the ability, but as long as you have the ability to do it, you have to do it. For instance, there's a mitzvah to take the 4 species on Sukkot. If you happen to be exiled to Siberia, it might be impossible 150 years ago to get the 4 species. You were incapable of fulfilling the mitzvah because it was out of your control. That doesn't mean there wasn't a mitzvah to do it. There was a mitzvah to do it. You simply couldn't do it. So too, for a large part of Jewish history, most of Jewish history, we have been incapable of conquering the land. But if we are capable, the Rambam is saying, we must do it. Ve'ani omer, and I say, ki ha-mitzvah she'achamim mafligim ba vehi diras Eretz Yisrael. The Chachamim and the Gemara give massive praise to one mitzvah, and that is the mitzvah of living in Eretz Yisrael. Ad she'amru, until they said, shekol hayotzi mimenu v'dar b'chutz la'aretz, anyone that leaves Eretz Yisrael and lives in chutz la'aretz, yu be'enecha ka'oved avodah zarah, is in God's eyes as if he were worshiping idols. Shenamar, ki garshuni hayom mistapeach b'nachal as Hashem, because you have chased me away this day from dwelling on the inheritance of God. There is a very interesting idea in Sefer Mitzvos of the Rambam. And no one disagrees with it. Absolutely no one has ever disagreed with the Rambam on this. And that is that you can have a mitzvah min Torah that is not found in the Torah at all. All right? Part of the Taryag mitzvahs, you will not find any pasuk in the Torah that says this is prohibited or obligatory. Let's look at the Rambam. Sefer mitzvahs. Mitzvahs lo tasei shin lamed vav. Ve'amitzvah hashin lamed vav hu she'izharnu migitlas erves habas atzma. We are prohibited to have relations with one's daughter. V'zos lo hitbara b'perush b'Torah. This is not said in the Torah. We're told not to have relations with your son's daughter, and we're told not to have relations with your daughter's daughter. But no place does it say that you can't have relations with your own daughter. Lo ba lanu ervas bitcha lo sigale. We have no place, last week's parsha, that it says you're not allowed to reveal your daughter's nakedness. Vamnam shatak mimenu lebiur hadavar. The Torah was completely quiet on this. Galuso ki hu aser bas haben ubas abas, and it revealed it to us when it said you're not allowed to have relations with your son's daughter and your daughter's daughter, v'kol shekanabas, and all the more so, we know that you're not allowed to have relations with your own daughter. Ukumar Yavamos Amro. At the end of Yavamos, it says, Bito ikar isura midrasha asya, that the prohibition of having relations with your daughter is learned from a drasha of the Torah. It is still one of the Taryag mitzvahs that you're not allowed to have relations with your daughter, even though it's not mentioned in the Torah at all. So therefore, it's possible to have a mitzvah min haTorah, part of the Taryag mitzvahs, or certainly another obligation in the Torah that isn't mentioned in the Torah. And the Gemara in Megillah says, when it's questioning what is the source in the Torah for the Chanukah, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Avin, Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha. Rabbi Chia bar Avin says in the name of Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha, Uma me'avdus lecherus, if what is true about going from slavery to freedom, which is going out of Egypt, Amrinan Shira, we're obligated to say Shira, we're obligated to make a festival. Mimisa lechaim, from life, from death to life, which he's talking about the miracle of Purim, lo kol sheken, all the more so. Now, the Sofer on this writes something that is incredible. To kavias yom moed b'yom asiyas nes, the obligation that we have on the day that a miracle occurred for the entire Jewish people, that saved the entire Jewish people from destruction, who kal v'chomer deraisa. This is a kal v'chomer from the Torah itself. Ulefi aniustaiti, and therefore, according to my humble opinion, lefi ze yom purim v'yimei chanukah deraisahem. Therefore, the Chag of Purim and of Chanukah are Torah obligations. They are festivals that come from the Torah. Ach malasos behem, but what we have to do to celebrate them, im lishloach manos or lahadlik neros, whether it's sending gifts to friends or to the poor, or lighting candles, or lasos secher acher, or whatever other way we remember it. Zayut Rabbanan. This is the given over to the rabbis to decide, very similar to the halachas of Chol Hamoed, where the psak is that there's a Torah obligation not to do some type of work on Chol Hamoed, but it was given over to the rabbis to decide which works we're not supposed to do. And someone that transgresses this and does not make any mention of Chanukah and Purim, passes the by, makes them a normal day. Over al mitzvahs aseh d'oraisa, he has therefore transgraded a Torah obligation. So, therefore, any time the entire Jewish people is saved, then it is a Torah obligation to make a festival to commemorate this. Since the population in Eretz Yisrael is defined as the entire Jewish people, and the Arabs were saying they were going to sweep us into the sea and leave no Jew alive in Eretz Yisrael. They didn't care whether you were Haredi, Mizrahi, Chiloni, right wing, left wing, or anything else. Didn't matter. They wanted to kill them all. And we were saved. That is the entire Jewish people being saved. The Shulchan Aruch, when you're figuring out how to calculate the year so that things fall out properly, it says Siman l'kviyas hamoados. There is a sign that we have for establishing the holidays, or figuring out when we have to have 30-day months, 29-day months, and so on. At bashgar dak hates vaf. What does this mean? Perush, b'yom rishon shel Pesach yeh lolam tishbav. On the first day of Pesach, that day of the week will always be Tisha B'Av. B'yom beis bo Shavuos. The second day will always be Shavuos. B'yom gimel bo Rosh Hashanah. The third day is always the same day of the week as Rosh Hashanah. B'yom dalet bo Kriyas Torah shu Simchas Torah. The fourth day is the day of Kriyas Torah, which is Simchas Torah in Chutz La'aretz. B'yom Hey bo Tzom Kippur. On the fifth day is Yom Kippur. B'yom Vav bo Purim she'avar. And the sixth day is Purim of the previous year. Now, there is no Zayin Ayin. However, the Sfas Emes writes, Yesh Shlosha Regalim Midoraisa. There are 3 Torahs given festivals. V'knegdam Shnei Chagim Midorabanan. And there are 2 which we had to define rabbinically. V'karov L'Geula Yesh Lishi Lahashlim Zayin Ayin. And close to the time of redemption, there will be a third one to complete the Zayin Ayin. There will be a festival that begins with the word the letter ayin, as in Atzmaut, independence, and it falls on the same day of the week as the 7th day of Pesach, or the last day of Pesach in Eretz Yisrael. When we are thinking about how to celebrate Yom Ha'Atzmaut, the greatest of the teachers of the importance of Eretz Yisrael, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, Torah Eretz Yisrael, was Moriver Zitzal Rav Chaim Drukman. Read step by step or kima kima, depending on which language you prefer, for more in-depth than this. And at this time, when we've been struggling with wars for a long time, donations to the yeshiva unfortunately have dropped some. It would be good if people could take this time and for the holiday of Yom Ha'Atzmaut to dedicate at least some money for the yeshiva. A link will be found in the notes for this year. Everyone should have a very sameach Yom Ha'Atzmaut.